Spoiler alert, he goes to prison. Hello everybody and welcome back to another brand new episode of Business Blaze. It's your boy with the Blaze, Simon. What goes on here, if you're a little bit confused? If you're new to this channel, if you've randomly stumbled across this while browsing on your homepage, well that's fantastic for me, and you're probably wondering, what the f*** is going on? Who is this British man and why is he holding some paper? And why is he acting like a bit of a cock? Well, this is Business Blaze. Danny writes me a script, I read it, and then Sam adds some memes afterwards. I used to call him a video editor and people were like, Simon, Sam is basically a memologist, isn't he? And I was like, yeah, he is. So that's what's working out. You're also probably wondering, why am I wearing a t-shirt with my face on it? Well, that's because you can purchase my merch. Or as someone suggested I say it, perch the merch, which I f***ing love. And from now on, I'm exclusively going to use. This is all about the Pharma Bro. You remember that dude, the guy who bought a company and jacked up the price of some drug for sick children or whatever, allegedly. There's lots of in-jokes, so if you're new here, well, I guess you. Not really, thanks for being here. If you had to guess at the identity of the most hated human being in America, who would you go for?
Let's say China. China.
There are probably quite a few likely candidates on the top of the list. Justin Bieber, Gwyneth Paltrow. Gwyneth Paltrow and your vagina-scented candles and goop. I mean, allegedly, that sounds like a piece of shit, doesn't it? Kanye West, that guy off The Apprentice, the entire cast of Jersey Shore. Have stories about everything here. I've never seen the Jersey Shore, but I know it's a piece of shit.
I hate you more than anybody I've ever hated my entire
The guy off The Apprentice is Trump. Kanye West, I know a couple of his songs. People worship Kanye West to a bizarre degree. It's quite strange. He seems like a bit of a knob.
Oh yeah, we're the worst, yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow we already mentioned, and Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber, I was like, all right, there's got to be something to this. I've never listened to his music. I mean, I had never listened to his music, and people would believe me. They'll be like, Simon, you must have heard it like in a club or in a shopping center or something, and it's like, genuinely never have. One, do I look like I go to f***ing clubs?
Oh yeah, positivity, yeah.
Two, whenever I'm anywhere, I have earbuds in with noise cancelling technology so I don't have to put up with, you know, other people and the music that they want to listen to or they think we want to listen to. So, long story short, I was like, I'm gonna get on Spotify and I'm gonna listen to some Justin Bieber. It was f***ing shite. But these kinds of people also boast an army of devoted supporters to balance things out a bit, unfortunately. But what about the most universally hated human being in America? One handy way of getting some insight into this answer is to type the phrase most hated person in America into a Google image search, and I was gobsmacked by the results when I did this. Sounds like me researching who to do on a biographics video. That's another channel I do where I do biographies of people. The first 5 images that popped up on the screen were all of the same person. The American former hedge fund manager and disgraced felon Martin Shkreli? The Pharma Bro. You know him as the Pharma Bro. If you get a bit more specific, type in most hated man in America. 21 of the first 25 images are of him. Dude, come on. Does this mean most hated man in America? Like, the person has to be in America? Because I feel like OBL, which is what all the cool kids call Osama bin Laden, I feel he probably was there until he got shot in the head. I think I made a comment once where it was like, Osama bin Laden, then he got shot in the head. It was great. And someone was like, Simon, it's not funny to talk about people dying like that. I'm like, yeah. It's not. Unless it's Osama bin Laden. Or Saddam Hussein. Or one of those other cocks. It's like, oh no, Gaddafi got a knife shoved up his arsehole. Oh no! In fact, you don't even really need to type in the America bit. If you just type in things like hated man or worst person, your screen becomes flooded with images of the smirking face of Martin Shkreli. He's the man who looks a bit like a stroppy teenager, even though he's now 37. The man who once had a net worth of $70 million, who earned the nickname the Pharma Bro. The man who got permanently banned from Twitter and who once spent $2 million on a Wu-Tang Clan album before getting involved in a very public spat with them. And most importantly of all, he's a man who bought a vital AIDS treatment drug called Daraprim and raised the price of the pill overnight from $13.50 to $750. Per pill! It's expensive at $13, what the f***? But does the Pharma Bro really deserve to be the tide of such global boiling fury? Or was he just cursed with a very hateable persona, and as I've heard it described, an extremely punchable face?
Oh yeah!
Martin Shkreli had a very modest upbringing in a working-class family in Brooklyn, the son of Albanian and Croatian immigrant parents who both worked as janitors. But he was certainly very ambitious and took a keen interest in the stock market from an almost alarmingly young age. It's been reported that he bought his first shares in Compaq by the age of just 12, whilst by the age of 15 he was snapping up shares in Amazon when the company went public for the first time. That was probably a smart move because I've seen that stock chart and it looks like this. It's unclear how long he held on to the Amazon shares, but he would have done well to keep them for a while. Since those early days, the share price has grown by around 120,000%. So like, woo! So initial investment of $10,000 would now be worth $12 million if I had a time machine. Martin credits much of his success to his time studying at the prestigious Hunter College High School in New York, even though he stopped attending classes when he was asked to leave before he could graduate. Many years later, in 2015, he would offer his thanks to the school by giving them the largest donation in their history, $1 million. The donation was accepted, even though many of the school's most notable attendees and achievers angrily demanded that the school give this blood money back to Martin, who was perceived to be feebly trying to repair his shattered relationship at this point. That's amazing though, like, they'll take the money. I remember when I was at school, they were building like a new sports complex, and they were asking, for people to donate so they could build this. And they still send, I don't get them anymore because I moved house, but every year after I left, they'd send letters being like, can you give us some money? And it's like, the school was already expensive. It's like, don't you have enough money?
Help me, I'm poor.
No.
But I remember they were like, yeah, if you donate at the gold level, we'll name the building after you. And one day, I'm gonna be so rich, I would do that. I'd definitely do that. And then I'd named it like Sports Sucks, because I hated sports, but I'd donate to the sports center just so I could be like, yeah, I'll give you the £1 million that you need to finish the building, but you're gonna have to name it Sports Sucks. And they'll be like, we'll take it. Keen to work in Wall Street, a 16-year-old Martin landed an internship at the hedge fund partnership Kramer, Berkowitz and Company. In between making the coffee and fetching the sausage and marmalade sandwiches, Danny, what is up? I feel like at first, Danny would mention all these weird foods he'd eat, and I'll be like, Danny, that's weird. Now I just feel like he's making this shit, because no one eats sausage and marmalade sandwiches, Danny, you f***ing animal. Martin was whispering in the ears of his bosses and strongly recommending that they short sell stock in the biotech company Regeneron Pharmaceuticals, who were developing a weight loss drug. Martin sensed that the overvalued company was heading for a fall, and he turned out to be absolutely right. Kramer, Berkowitz and Company made a fortune short selling the stock, which went on to lose over half of its value in a single day. In fact, they did so well out of it that the Securities and Exchange Commission, started twitching their noses in suspicion, because that sounds like insider trading when you're like, short sell it, oh, it fell by half in a day. Someone knew something and the SEC is knocking on your door. They launched an investigation in this matter, but were unable to find proof of any wrongdoing or insider information. This sounds so far like an episode of the TV show Billions, which I love. I didn't watch Billions for ages, because I was like, honestly, it's about finance, who cares? Like, it's the most boring I just imagine it's the most boring thing, and I started watching it, I was like, wow, this is great. Hedge fund me up? They were unable to find any wrongdoing or use of insider information. On this occasion, at least, it seemed as if Martin had just made a very shrewd prediction on a weight loss drug, which, in Martin's own words, looked like bullshit to me. Even Regeneron Pharmaceuticals were forced to admit, in slightly more reserved language, that the drug proved to be a disappointment. By the year 2006, Martin Bro was going it alone with his own hedge fund company called Elia. Dude, you got an impossible to pronounce surname. Did you really have to call your company in something? E-L-E-A? Elia? Dude, Martin. I just call it Bro Bro Hedges. However, his knack for making uncannily accurate predictions had started to elude him a little in 2007 when he placed a huge bet on an imminent stock market crash. Wait, that sounds totally right, though. Of course, he was ultimately right. Yes. By the end of the year, the world had entered the Great Recession, which we covered in a recent Business Blaze episode. We did. But sadly for Martin, this severe economic downturn didn't come quite as early as he'd expected, and he ended up losing his $2.6 million wager when the stock market actually started to rise following his bet. Well, it'd be a bit weird if he timed it absolutely perfectly. Then the SEC were like, yo, Martin, we're gonna need a word with you again, because what the dude, you're too good at this. I wonder how many times Warren Buffett's been looked into by the SEC, and then they just give up because they're like, no, he's some sort of genius. He's got a time machine or some shit. It's not insider information. He's just that good. Or at least he would have lost $2.6 million if it even had it to begin with, okay? Because the problem was that Martin had been so confident of success that he'd never pondered to reflect how he might pay up if the bet went pear-shaped. He now owed money to the US investment bank Lehman Brothers, who successfully sued Martin and his company Elia for $2.3 million. So at least he got $300,000 for free. But Martin's prediction of the Great Recession did ultimately throw a little bit of good fortune his way when it eventually took hold of the economy. The Lehman Brothers collapsed before they could collect their money. Martin's like, "F*** yeah, they all lost their jobs." A friend of mine worked at Lehman Brothers and lost his job. He wasn't an investment banker, he worked in technology, so don't be like that. He deserves it. He didn't. He was a really nice guy who worked with computers. There was now history, but Martin bravely plowed on with the formation of a new hedge fund business called MSMB Capital Management, which again seemed largely focused on shorting companies. This is the thing, it's like, oh no, I can't pay back my huge debt and Lehman Brothers went out of business. Bankrupt that motherfucker. Start again. His winning strategy was to short sell stocks in biotech companies and then spend a great deal of time in stock trading chat rooms pointing out all the flaws in the company that he had just shorted. Is that legal? So in other words, it placed large amounts of money on the imminent decline of a company, badmouth the company all over the internet, and then cash in the next day when the stocks fell. I think I made a joke previously on a business blaze that I should definitely buy stocks in like a company and then talk the shit out of them on Business Blaze. When Business Blaze is at, when Business Blaze gets like 100 million views, which is completely unrealistic. Let's say 5 million views an episode, which is still like future dreams. And then just be like, yeah, short sell that shit. Not lie, just point out its flaws. I'm going to prison, aren't I? Like our bro here. Spoiler alert, he goes to prison. To be fair, he wasn't doing anything illegal here, he was just pointing out the facts as he saw them to fellow traders on the stock market. It just seemed a very dubious way of going about his business. He's a bit of a dick, but it's pretty smart, isn't it? And I just came up with the same strategy, so what can I say? I'm a genius. Sometimes he went a bit further than just shouting his mouth off in chat rooms. After short-selling stocks in Mankind Corporation and Navidia Biopharmaceuticals, he actually filed requests with the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, urging them to reject the latest products from both companies on grounds of clinical inadequacy. This guy's shady. Although the products were ultimately approved by the FDA, this was only after the stocks of both companies had taken a nosedive following Martin's interventions, which of course allowed him to cash in again. That's the thing, because the media will love a rumor and they'll just be like, oh my god, the FDA is launching an investigation. Yeah, because one dude was like, look into it. The non-profit Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, that's a thing. Success! Accused Martin of manipulating the FDA for financial gain and called for an inquiry, but the Justice Department and the SEC disagreed, and no formal probe was ever launched into the matter. So yeah, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. Oh! However, he was soon to come unstuck again following another monster bet which went the wrong way. His company, MSMB, sold short 32 million stocks of Orexogen Therapeutics, although perhaps a little strangely, they did this the day after the share price had already plummeted. When the shares bounced back upwards, this left MSMB with a debt of $7 million, which they were struggling to cover. We'll come back to that a bit later though. Oh my god, I can't wait. I actually can't. This is quite an exciting, like last video I recorded, it was about how McDonald's makes hamburgers. And I was like, who the f watches this shit? This is really entertaining. Well done, Danny. In 2011, Martin founded the pharmaceutical company Retrofin, making a transition from hedge funder to proper corporate leader, even though he still looked, and some say behaved, like he was 14 years old. This is where we first see evidence of Martin snapping up the rights to rare drugs and then raising the price significantly. For example, he bought the rights to the Thiola drug, which is used to help prevent kidney stones from forming in patients suffering from the very rare cystinuria disease. Never heard of it, probably because it's very rare. Retrofin raised the price of each pill from $1.50 to $30, which was bad news for patients who typically had to take between 10 and 15 of these pills every day. Holy shit, so your bill's going from $15 to $300? Because you. This seemed somewhat at odds with Martin's claim that his life mission was to cure many diseases and save children's life. It does seem like this guy is the guy that character of Bobby Axelrod's based off. Although the Retrofin company made a stack of money, it too would eventually run into trouble, and Martin would later be fired from his own company after the board became suspicious of his business behavior. Yeah, because he's like, dude,
I'm friends with everybody in this office.
You might not be breaking the law, but you are a shady operator, bro. And that's also something we'll come back to later. How exciting! For now, let's turn our attention to the biggest and most infamous chapter in the life story of the Pharma Bro. My legs are going to sleep, so I'm just roam around a little. Like I say, we roam while we blaze. Oh, after being shown the door at Retrofin, Martin went and formed another new pharmaceutical company with the same sort of idea, although not before he'd taken to Twitter to brand the directors of his former company insane. Turing Pharmaceuticals was launched in 2015, and one of the company's first moves was to acquire the rights to a drug called Daraprim, which had already been on the market since 1953. This treatment for toxoplasmosis, a word that I feel I only know how to pronounce because of the TV show House, now being used by AIDS patients, was the only one of its kind, and the patent was about to expire. In the months leading up to Turing's acquisition of the drug, Martin negotiated a deal with the current owners, Impax, which involved the treatment being removed from standard wholesalers and pharmacies. By the time it fell under his control, distribution of the drug had already become very tightly controlled. It was at this point that he raised the price from $13.50 per pill to $750. This was a 5,000% price increase, which took the price of a typical patient's monthly course from $1,350 to $75,000. So I feel $1,350 is incredibly expensive as is, and $75,000 is just like, oh, so it's for billionaires. Martin had the cheek to say that in hindsight, he probably should have raised the price even further. Dude, that doesn't look good, does it, bro?
You cheated, bro.
It's no surprise that pretty much the whole world went apeshit over this staggering price hike of a life-saving drug which had no cheaper alternative. I watched, I think it was a Vice documentary about unaffordable drugs, and it was like, they just followed someone who went to China. She was like, yeah, I have this terrible cancer and I need this drug to survive. If I stop taking it, the cancer will kill me. Or I think it was cancer, whatever. And she's like, but it cost me like $10,000 a month. So I just went to China, I gave them a pill, and I was like, can you guys copy this? And they were like, yes, it's gonna cost you like 50p, and we'll just give you literally a kilogram of it. It's like, yeah, I'm not saying that that's what I would do, but that's allegedly what I would do.
I know China very well. China.
It's no surprise that pretty much blah, 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 blah. And then the condemnations came flooding in from both sides of the political spectrum. Of course. Because it's like, oh, how could the politicians not get involved and be like, use this opportunity? High-profile critics of Martin Bro included then presidential candidates Hillary Clinton, who described the price hike as outrageous, and Donald Trump, who went up with a slightly less helpful, he looks like a spoiled brat to me. Speaking from experience, are we there, Don? It's worth pausing a moment to just reflect on Martin's own political leanings. He was initially a strong supporter of Bernie Sanders' Democratic presidential candidate campaign, but he also hated Hillary Clinton even more than he did Trump. Martin sent Bernie Sanders a donation of $2,700 to help with his campaign, but was outraged when Bernie Sanders rejected the donation and forwarded it to an HIV clinic instead, declaring that Martin Shkreli was a poster boy for drug company greed.
I'm not running all over this country, raising enormous sums of money from some of the wealthiest people in America.
Yeah, I assume $2,700 is like the cap on what donations can be. So it doesn't matter to Bernie Sanders, but it does look really good if he forwards it on and it only costs him like essentially pennies in an election campaign, right? Those things are mad expensive, as Michael Bloomberg taught us. Poor Michael Bloomberg. Martin responded on Twitter with, so angry at, all caps, Bernie Sanders, I could punch a wall. Alright Martin, chill out.
Dude, chill.
He would later abstain from voting on election day in protest of crap candidates, although he revealed, if someone put a gun to my head and made me vote, I would vote Trump over Hillary. If you think that's an endorsement, knock yourself out. Dude, who cares what you think? Why do people care? Who cares? I don't care how you vote. In the face of growing pressure to drop the price of Daraprim, including a campaign which was endorsed by 164 medical, specialty, and patient-related organizations, Martin Shkreli did briefly promise to bring the price of the drug down, but then changed his mind and didn't bother. Can you imagine if there was some dudes who were like, nah, it seemed like, who were these? Medical, specialty, and patient-related organization. One of them was like, nah, it seems cool. Oh, why? We represent billionaires. We're the Billionaire AIDS Foundation. In defense of his price increase, he claims that if there was a company that was selling an Aston Martin for the price of a bicycle, and we could buy that company and ask to charge Toyota prices, I don't think that should be a crime. That also doesn't really make much sense and is a terrible analogy. It's also worth noting that Turing did slash the cost of bulk buys from hospitals by 50%, which would still have been massively more expensive than the cost of the drug before Turing got their hands on it, and they pledged to set up patient assistance programs so that many patients would get the drug at no cost at all. This was actually a fairly standard policy for companies selling drugs at ridiculously overinflated prices, as it enables the cost to be pushed onto hospitals, insurance companies, and taxpayers, which, I mean, I don't know enough about this, but I know medical care in the US is really expensive, and it's not because it's, like, better. It's just because of someone I know. They had like a test for their unborn baby, like some genetic test, and they didn't have insurance that would cover it. It was like $8,000, and they got a bill for like $8,000, and he just phoned up the hospital and was like, yo, I can't afford $8,000. And they're like, wait, why don't you just pass it off to your insurance company? And the insurance company were like, and then he was like, I don't have insurance. My insurance doesn't cover this. And they're like, oh, why didn't you say so? It's like $150. And he's like, great, I'll write you a check. And that's why healthcare gets expensive. Maybe, I don't really know.
Help me to help you. Help me to help you. Help me to help you.
It's just an anecdotal story that I found enjoyable and horrible. Martin Shkreli was eventually subpoenaed to appear before Congress to explain the dramatic price hike of Daraprim. Appearing before Congress. Like, it's just entertainment, but it is bullshit, isn't it? Like, just take it to the courts, do the normal thing. There's a reason that politics and the courts are separate. Do we have to down with this Congress bullshit that, I don't know, I think these companies should be held to account for sure. But I don't want a bunch of politicians to use it as an opportunity to circle jerk themselves about how great their political platforms are and how much they hate all this bullshit. We know. You're a politician. Off. So dumb. And we have also, like, parliamentary inquiries in the UK. It's the same bullshit. Stop that shit. But although he turned up, he refused to cooperate and repeatedly invoked the Fifth Amendment like a mantra in response to almost every question. Kind of good for him. Shit. That's the only thing I'm on the same page with him on. He actually appeared to be smirking throughout the hearing. Don't be a dick though, alright? As he constantly repeated the words, on the advice of my counsel, I invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination and respectfully decline to answer your question. However, full marks go to United States Representative Trey Gowdy, who did get Martin to briefly deviate from this mantra, if only for a second. Ted Gowdy asked, is it pronounced Shkreli? To which an off-guard Martin replied, yes sir. Quick as a flash, Gowdy responded with, see there, you can answer some questions. That one didn't incriminate you. Trey Gowdy, you're not funny. I don't know who the you are. This is so pointless. All of this is so pointless. Martin looked very briefly crestfallen, as if it just lost a round of that classic British pub game, Don't Think of an Elephant. Please don't Google that, I just made it up, but the rules are very easy to understand. I just thought of the game. Anyone know what the game is? Where it's like the whole point of the game is to not think of the game. It's been months. And also, you're welcome, everyone who plays the game. Also, if you don't play the game and you have no idea what I'm talking about, you are now playing the game whether you like it or not. The idea is that you don't think of the game. Every time you think of the game, you have to announce it to those around you, much like I've done right now. All I'm doing now is thinking of the game. Towards the end of the non-hearing, Martin was openly laughing at Congress and even making mock dramatic expressions. He came across like a school kid who had been sent to the headmaster's office after setting fire to a hedgehog in the playground, but was still trying to look tough in front of his mates. What the was your head? What were you doing at school, Denny? A hedgehog's combustible? The hearing was barely over before he took to Twitter, again with the words, hard to accept that these imbeciles represent the people in our government. But the point is that no action was ever taken with regard to the price hike of Daraprim because Martin wouldn't play ball. It looked as if the Pharma Bro had pretty much gotten away with it, just like he'd gotten away with not paying $2.3 million back to Lehman Brothers when they collapsed. Although Martin Shkreli's career decisions, largely based on generating profits from human suffering, were never going to make him particularly popular. His demeanor and his behavior only seemed to intensify the universal hatred of him. Of course it did, because it's like, yeah, we're ripping people off on drugs. Hey, you seem like a knob, Martin.
You can look away if you like, but I wish you could see the faces of people, no matter what Ms. Retzlaff says.
To put it very mildly, Martin was an odd chap. A big fan of hip-hop, he clearly thought of himself as some kind of trash-talking gangster. but there was no escaping the fact that he looked like a skinny, pasty-faced teenager. It was like someone filming a movie of the life and times of Tupac Shakur, but they'd accidentally hired Woody Allen to play the title role. He'd often take to social media to say things like, "I travel around Las Vegas with 2 or 3 million in cash. It's real. Whatever you think, I'm a herb or whatever, fine. But I'm the dude. I'm the guy. I'm not made up." You also sound like a massive tool. A big fan of New York hip-hop collective Wu-Tang Clan, he splashed out a cool $2 million to become the owner of the only copy in the world of the band's 7th album, Once Upon a Time in Shaolin. But his relationship with the band quickly turned sour. The band had taken the unusual marketing strategy of making just one copy of the album and then putting it up for auction to the highest bidder on the agreement that the winning bidder wouldn't be able to commercially exploit it until 88 years later. This was Wu-Tang Clan's response to a music industry in crisis. And they apparently were trying to get back into the idea of music being fine art rather than something that was streamed everywhere for free. Martin paid $2 million for the album, making it the most expensive individual album ever sold in history, way out in front of a signed copy of David Hasselhoff's 1985 album, Night Rocker. In a recent Business Blaze video, I discovered that David Hasselhoff was a musician as well. All I knew him before from his music-wise was that weird song where he asks people to get into his car, which, I mean, hashtag me too. $2 million might seem expensive, but it did come in a silver jewel-encrusted box rather than a standard plastic case. However, wait, it was a CD? Surely it was just the rights to an album. When was this? This was not long ago. What's going on? However, the deal was finalized before Martin Shkreli became a household name for the wrong reasons, and Wu-Tang Clan weren't happy when they realized that their prize album had ended up in the hands of a complete knob. One of the members of the band, Ghost-Faced Killer, really? Real name, Dennis, posted a video in which he launched a verbal tirade against the Pharma Bro and his price hiking tactic. I wish I had a nickname that was that cool. Ghostface Killer. And by the way, killer is it's Ghostface. Ghostface, not ghost-faced. It's also tricky to pronounce. Ghostface Killer. K-L-L-A-H. Not E-R, because, you know, I'm sure that's got legal implications. What's your name? Murdering boy. B-O-I. In response, the Pharma Bro posted his own bizarre video in which he taunts Ghost-Faced Killer, or Dennis if you prefer it, as he stands up in front of 3 masked individuals. In the video, Martin holds up the album and threatens, "If you ever say dumb again, I'm going to erase all your from this album. I'm going to erase you from the record books of rap." He concludes with, "Don't ever mention my name again, or there'll be more of a price to pay than this video." It's just over 2 minutes of the most cringeworthy material you're ever likely to watch on the internet. And we've seen some cringeworthy material on the internet. But Martin's social media storms often went way beyond embarrassment and into the realms of more sinister behavior. He once tweeted that he would let Taylor Swift have a listen to his Wu-Tang Clan album in return for a sexual favor. Dude. Not appropriate. And launched various harassment campaigns against the likes of journalist Taylor Lorenz and Lauren Durker. Also, Taylor Swift, bro, is way richer than you. And she's an artist. She accidentally made money. Your whole goal in life was ripping people off to make money, and you made way less money than her. So fuck you. That's gonna make you feel bad. In the case of Lauren Durker, Martin had sent her a proposition via direct message, to which the journalist politely responded with, "I would rather eat my own organs. Call the burn unit." Martin persisted and was later reported by Durker for cyberstalking. He was ultimately kicked off Twitter in 2017. Good. The Pharma Bro may have been riding good fortune for a while and getting away with some very dodgy deeds, but justice did eventually catch up to him. And we all know this because I'm pretty sure he's still in prison. Going back to the financial troubles he was experiencing at MSNB Capital Management when that $7 million bet went the wrong way, he was accused of getting around the problem by misleading investors in both MSNB and his subsequent company Retrofin to try and paint a picture that everything in the garden was rosy. He was charged on multiple counts of securities fraud and faced a trial at the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of New York, although it proved difficult for the court to select an unbiased jury. Yeah, because he did. Is anyone here heard of this guy? Yeah, he's a piece of shit. Okay. Sorry, juror number 5, you're gonna have to go. Anyone else? Everyone just puts their hands up. They can't find a single person who doesn't think this guy's a piece of shit. It'd be good if Taylor Swift was on the jury. Oh, do famous people have to do jury duty? What happens if Taylor Swift gets called for jury duty? Surely you can get out of it, right? In screening potential jurors, many of the candidates were coming out with such statements as, "I'm aware of the defendant and I hate him. He disrespected the Wu-Tang Clan. He kinda looks like a dick." However, on August the 4th, 2017, Martin Shkreli was ultimately found guilty of 2 counts of securities fraud and 1 count of conspiracy to commit securities fraud. His crimes included lying to investigators about the performance of the 2 companies, withdrawing more money from the funds than he was legally entitled to, and defrauding investors in Retrofin by hiding his ownership of some of its stock. Yeah, all of this sounds like some pretty illegal shit there, Martin. Upon leaving court on bail, Martin hailed the result as a glorious triumphant victory, as he had been found not guilty on 5 other charges. But his bail was revoked when he published a bizarre Facebook post, which seemed to encourage his 70,000 followers to try and acquire a strand of his outspoken critic Hillary Clinton's hair in return for a $5,000 bounty. Dude, what's going on in your head, man? It's not entirely clear if the joke was implying that Martin wanted to clone Hillary Clinton, or whether he was planning to make a voodoo doll of the former presidential candidate. Or he's just a f***ing weirdo. But either way, the joke fell flat. The judge perceived the post as solicitation to assault, and Martin was sent to the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn to await sentencing. That's not going to be a good time, is it? Martin Shkreli was sentenced to 7 years in prison. Oh, America. I feel like you gotta murder someone to get 7 years in prison in the UK, in order to forfeit more than $7.3 million in assets. Good, take all his money. I mean, I don't know what he was, I guess he wasn't found guilty of the price hike and all of that but some other stuff, but I mean, he should go to jail, because he seems like a complete dick. But 7 years does seem a bit harsh. Does he get to go to Bernie Madoff prison, or does he get to go to rape prison? Martin Shkreli. Oh, he does have the most punchable face in the world, doesn't he? I forgot what his face looks like. He's in somewhere called Allenwood. Oh no, it looks nice. Okay, so it's a low security. Oh, it does have high security as well, but I'm guessing that's for... Okay, so he's in the low security prison. You want to know he's in prison with? Holy shit. What's this guy doing in low security prison? Convicted in 2007 of murder conspiracy and providing materials supporting for terrorism and for sending money, equipment, and recruits to support jihad organizations. You need to be in the high security prison, dude. You terrorist? And then there's okay, so there was someone who was involved in Watergate, and there was someone who interfered with elections. Disappointingly, Martin Shkreli is probably not getting... Some of the assets Martin lost from his private collection included an Enigma machine. F***ing epic! A manuscript signed by Isaac Newton, a letter from Charles Darwin, and of course, that $2 million album by Wu-Tang Clan. Alright, Martin, you might have the most punchable face in the world, but some of your toys are very cool. So it turns out that the most hated man in America did eventually get his comeuppance, just not necessarily for the thing he became hated for. I would have still gone for Justin Bieber though. Whatever it would take to stop Justin Bieber making music would be... That's what I would like. Bonus facts. Just before the time I write this script, Martin Shkreli was in the news yet again, this time because of his request to be released from prison in order to help find a cure for the coronavirus. It was rejected. Martin's proposal had been for federal authorities to release him for 3 months so that he could work in a laboratory under strict supervision. He's not a scientist! He claims that his background as a 2-time successful biopharma engineer made him a valuable asset in the fight against the virus. It doesn't, Martin. It doesn't, Martin. I'm sorry. The judge rules that a cure for coronavirus had so far eluded the best medical and scientific minds in the world, and that Martin Shkreli was simply displaying typical delusional self-aggrandizing behavior. Sounds like a bit of a theme for old Pharma Bro, doesn't it? Number 2, bonus fact 2. To end on a very positive and again very recent note, the Daraprim drug was approved as a generic drug in February 2020, which means that it can now be manufactured and purchased from other companies at a tiny fraction of the price that Turing Pharmaceuticals were charging. So there we go. This has been Business Blaze. Thank you for watching. This was a long one, very long one. I appreciate it. Smash that like button if you liked it. Smash that dislike button if you didn't. That is what it's about. If you watched to the end though, you're a legend. Thank you for that. Purchase the merch, and I'll see you next time.
I would like to say for one last time this summer that the candy
trash talking gangster